EV, you're up next, sir. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi, Bart. First thing I want to say is I'm a big fan of your website. I've only been playing poker for about 2 years now, and it has helped me so much from just comprehending all the aspects of a winning player. And I just want to say thanks.
I appreciate the warm words. Thank you very much.
All right, so I do have a hand for you. It is from Resorts World Cat Scales.
Okay. hmm I'm familiar.
And
The close is that
yes,
the closest room to New York City, even though it's not really close, right?
um, I would say so. Yeah,
Yeah.
closest casino
Yeah.
anyway.
Yep. How far is that from the what is it? Albany Schenectady is
Yeah,
it
I've been there before. That's a good room. It's about an hour away,
Oh,
hour
okay.
north.
So
Yeah.
you guys are in like an hour south. Okay. And what's the size of the game?
This is a 2-5 game with a $10 button straddle.
Ooh, button straddle. Wow.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think we had that button straddle call today. I think that we put up where I was like, I'm not a fan of the button straddle because I think it tends to kill the game. And I was like, it's debatable whether or not the guy on the button he is putting dead money in, so it
Right.
just
They
tends
just
to make
added
the
it.
game worse. I think.
They just added it to this game recently, and it's, in my opinion, it's increased the action by a lot. Even though you think it wouldn't, but it's been great so far.
And what's the buy-in cap here, or
It
what's?
is 200 minimum and 1,000
All right,
max.
so 200 to 1,000. So you're gonna get into some shallower situations if people are opening to like 3x, 4x, right? Pre. Okay.
100%.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so I am 1750 effective with the main villain.
Okay.
I'm in the cutoff. And just a little background on the villain. I've been playing with him for about an hour. He actually bought his seat for $50 from another player, so
Okay.
that kind of says a little bit about him.
Does that mean the game is really good, or this guy's just like a gambler?
The game was fantastic. It
Oh, okay.
was it was really good at this moment in
Well,
time.
I could see buying. I mean, I bought a seat from some. I've definitely seen winning players buy seats from people in games.
Well, this guy was very loose and splashy.
Actually, I was playing 100 anti double board PLO bomb pot game only at Kings this summer. Somebody bought JC Transeat for $500 actually this summer. I remember that. Okay, so 1750 effective. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So I looked down at ace 10 off from the cutoff, ace of diamonds, 10 of spades, and main villain limps from under the gun +1. The low jack also limps.
All right. So +1 limp, low jack limp. Okay.
And this has been extremely happy limp table, so I just feel like my ace 10 is the nuts here against these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I raised it to 55,
55. Okay.
and the big blind calls,
Mm-hmm.
villain calls, and the low jack calls.
So big blind calls, +1 calls is going to be the villain and the low jack call.
That is correct. So four ways.
220. Okay.
And the flop is ace of clubs,
Mm-hmm.
10 of clubs, and 5 of hearts.
Ace of clubs, 10 of clubs, 5 of hearts. Looks like you flop top two. Just one other quick thing of note here, too. Again, like if it was close, there's little subtleties, right? You're absolutely, if it was ever a situation, I'm not saying that this is a situation where you're 50-50 over limp, 50, raise pre. But if it was close, you would want to take the more aggressive route here because you want to sort of drive out the button. He gets a free look, right? If you
Right.
don't raise, he's going to get a free look behind you, right? The
Right.
button with the button straddle, just a subtle thing, right?
Definitely.
So ace 10 5, and you've got top two. Okay.
Checks to me,
hmm
and I bet 70.
So big blind +1 and the limper check. Hero is in position, and hero bets 70. I kind of want to bet more here. We didn't say your name, Mr. Element.
John.
John, okay. I kind of want to bet more here. I mean, I know you're the only one that raised preflop, but whenever you get these sort of Broadway-ish types of boards that are connected, ace 10 5, you got top two. You know the whole drill. Live players like to play aces. And even when the multi-way theory says, you usually you're supposed to go kind of small multi-way because, people can't really continue, right? The whole multi-way theory.
Right.
When you see this type of thing in a heads-up spot, these are usually the boards that are actually bet on the larger size. And I still think it's fine to bet on the larger side. Like I would have gone like 140, 150 here, especially if you're dealing with like all
Right.
1750,
I do
stacks.
catch myself doing that when I just Not sure what to do. Just bet a third. It feels right. But I agree completely. I definitely should have gone bigger, especially against these guys.
Yeah. Okay, so you go 70.
And just the villain calls.
Okay, so
Plus one.
+1 only calls. Who limped.
So, yes, correct.
So, I mean, I guess he could have a suited ace here. He could have a hand like king, queen, queen, jack. Who knows what these guys are limping in with? But I mean, the only way you're behind is if he flopped a set of fives, right? For now.
Right.
But
Exactly.
I would be at least cognizant of the fact that a king or a queen or a jack are not really could be bad cards for you as opposed to, any other card, right? Any card
Right.
below or a club, obviously, but any other card, below a nine. I mean, those would be the ones that I wouldn't want to see on the turn. Although you
Right.
could get some more value from like pair plus straight draw. But okay, so pot is now 360.
So
Okay.
we get a king of hearts on the turn.
King of hearts on the turn. So it's ace of clubs, 10 of clubs, 5 of hearts. Turn card is the king of hearts. So we've got a front door club draw, back door heart draw. Hero with ace 10, what was top two, now sort of top and middle. Now, you're not really going to be concerned ever about someone like out turning you with like ace king, right? Because the guy limped, called.
Exactly.
But
Correct.
queen, there's a possibility that queen jack, might be there. I mean, it's not going to slow me down per se, I would say. Like I said, I still think you can get value from ace X, straight draws, things like that. Now, if you bet and then you get raised, that's an interesting one. I assume you get checked too, right?
Yes, he does check to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did think about doing a slight overbet here because I unblock both of the flush draws here. He could have a lot of combo things, like you said. But I just ended up betting 250.
Okay, so you go 250, so like 2/3.
Right.
Okay.
So villain waits about 30 seconds before raising to 750.
+1 to 750. I remember getting a little bit flamed in the comments for a hand that we did a couple of months ago where the pre-flop raiser was in position, kind of similar to you, but he was playing against like somebody, I think it was in the small blind or something like that. And he got check raised. And I believe it was like an ace and then a king came on the turn. And I think he had either flopped top and bottom. I think he had ace 4 or something like that. It was like ace X4 king. And he bet the turn after betting the flop. And the guy check raised him. And I was like, this is trouble. It's troubling. I always find it very troubling when somebody in the field puts pressure on ace king. And what I mean by that is like puts pressure on what would ace king would be top two here, right? Because what does everybody think the preflop raiser has ace king, right? And he's check raising you into ace king, right? Now, I remember looking at this one because I think I remember I didn't want to, I try not to, I don't know the results. I try not to read results, but sometimes I'll read some of the comments. And I think you had commented somewhat about this one too,
Right.
where you had started to say, well, there's a lot of draws out there. And the thing is that, yeah, there are draws out here. Like there's clubs and there's hearts, but most of the draws would either be a straight in the form of queen jack or kind of be paired up like a queen 10 of hearts, even ace X of hearts, 10X of hearts, something like that. And what I tend to see here, especially against the preflop raiser who could have ace king, is a lot of those hands call down as opposed to just start check raising. And I honestly don't think it's really a great check raise to make. Like if I had turned, if I had like, say, for example, queen 10 of hearts somehow, right? I don't know if I would do a whole lot of check raising here unless I was really, really capable of thinking that my opponent could fold a hand as good as like ace king here. And I'd have to know that a lot of times I'm not going to get the fold on the turn, and I might even have to plow through. Now, I know that it's somewhat of a small raise here. So you bet 250, the pot is 610. He goes up to 750, so it's 1360. It's 500 for you to call. So you're getting almost 3-1 here. Obviously, if you had a set here, this is like, a set of tens or a set of aces, it's so much an easier call, right? Because of the fact that like your equity, right? You would have 10 outs instead of 2 outs here.
Any set, I'd feel a lot more comfortable.
I'm kind of troubled here. I'm kind of troubled here in this particular situation. Sam Gibson says, we only lose to queen jack, and there are a lot of pair plus flush draw overplays available. I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of pair plus flush draw as much as people think. You know what I'm saying? I get very, very weary in this specific spot with two pair, and then somebody's raising into me with ace king. Now, if you had ace king, it's a little bit of an easier call, although maybe in this setup it's somewhat irrelevant because of the limp call. I was going to say because you'll lose to ace king now here too. I don't know. For the same reasons, like, is anyone ever overplaying king 10 here? It seems like you're kind of supposed to call here and see what develops. But the issue that I have here again is, like, if you call here for 500 and now, you know, whatever we said with the pot would be what, 610 plus 750 is 1360, right? Yeah. And then you're going to have what, like another, 1,000 left?
Almost nothing left compared to the pot.
Well, you're going to have like what, 900 left after, if you call. So then the pot would be, this is like why do I keep losing myself? So 610, so it's 1360, right? And then you've got maybe about 2/3 of a pot size bet left. If a blank comes, can you just, and the guy shoves, are you just committed to call down?
I think I definitely would. Yeah. Yeah, if a brick comes.
Now my only sort of counter to that, though, I think that what sometimes people miss, and this is where, like I said, with the old school Fifth Street chicken comes into play, where I say Fifth Street chicken, like I'm gonna play chicken with the guy and like dare him to bluff, and I say sometimes I fold out on a brick on the river when nothing changes. It's funny how newer school theory somewhat will somewhat agree with that thought for different reasons. And newer school theory says that there has to be check raise give ups from your opponent with these certain combinations. So even if a hand is check raised on the turn, especially if it contains any sliver of showdown value, not all these hands blow through on the river, right? Like if he tries to stab at you here with a big combo draw, that combo draw, especially if it's paired up, does not always bluff the river. So if you have a clump of combo draws that, okay, they're big enough to check raise turn, but when called, don't bluff the river unless they make it, and then on a brick, they bet the river, it's kind of the same type of thought for different reasons as Fifth Street chicken. You see what I'm saying? Like the structure of it.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, you could say like I'm an overfolder in these spots, but I don't seem to. Yeah. People seem to think that like this is an automatic continue here,
and it just seems like people just don't bluff. People, it just seems like they don't have that in their bag as much as I think they do.
Yeah. So again, like if you call, you're gonna. I think if I continued, I would call here. Is there ever a case? So if there's only 900 left in the pot, as we keep saying, like 1600, could you ever just jam you? So. Could you ever just jam here then if you think you're good and you think the draws are going to call? I'm just flipping through my head here. So it would be like 25.
That was actually my, yeah. That was my exact thought process here with that. And
that you could just, that you're going to call off anyway, so I might as well jam because I don't want him to give up at the end and miss the value.
Yeah, in real time, that was my exact thoughts, and that's what I ended up doing.
So you did jam?
Yes.
Now, Scott Alford says, if you're calling a brick river, then why not just jam now, as his bluff's going to have a bunch of equity against your give-ups? I think that that's what the caller is saying. And my counter to that is that if you're not calling a brick river, then, or only sometimes calling brick rivers, then maybe calling is better. You follow the difference?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
So hero jams. And the reason, the disaster here for jamming would be somehow if some of the draws don't call, but it's a lot of what ifs, right? Where jamming would not be correct here would be if you fold out some of the draws that would otherwise bluff and you were going to call down. That would be the argument for not jamming here. So you jam. I mean, my only issue, again, we can count. If this guy has all 16 combos of queen jack off here that's played this way, Now, it's debatable whether he calls with all of those on the flop, right? Let's say he has them all pre, and he only calls with like a club in his hand, right? How many? So what does that cut it down from like 16 to? Well, he's got to have the queen of clubs, and so it's what another. So it's specifically it cuts it down to 8, right? Either the queen or the jack, maybe 7 if I'm double counting the queen jack of clubs. So maybe it's like 7. So if he continues with queen jack with a club in and on the flop, that's 7 combos that obviously are never folding. And then the question is, how many combo draws does he have? Is it even close to 7? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it to me. But okay, so you jam, and what happened?
Well, he snap calls,
Mm-mm.
and
Well,
we
I
get
mean,
a,
depending on how much of a gambler he is, I mean, he could have like ace jack of hearts, right? He just thinks it's like the nuts. I mean, ace jack, ace queen of hearts, snap. So +1 snaps. Okay.
we get a 3 of clubs on the river, and he shows queen jack offsuit.
Yeah. Did he have a club in his hand?
He did not.
Okay, so he had all
He had
16. I mean, I don't
queen
know
of
how we're
spades,
supposed to
jack
know
of hearts.
that, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to put him on queen jack offsuit in real time. I knew he was a really loose player, but to limp call queen jack off, I should have seen it coming. But in real time, I really couldn't put him on it, so that pushed this decision even more for me.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's actually more of an issue because people are like, well, oh my god, if he's got queen jack off, he's so wide. The problem here, I think it's much worse for the caller that he has queen jack off, like all the combos, because then it's all the nut combos. And just because he's wide doesn't mean like he's playing like all of the combo draws like very fast. Like queen jack is the nuts. It's a double paired. I mean, excuse me, it's a double flush draw board. It looks like the caller has ace king, so he's going to play all those fast, right? He's out of position, but we don't know how often he plays any of the other combo draws fast. It's just going to be way more queen jack, and then the fact that he has all the combos is very troublesome, right? So